Hi, this is Vic Highland. Today I wanted to talk about how you can sort of promote yourself as a teacher and look at some of the ways of being able to work on the things that probably you've already got going for you to develop your work. Now, when I started off, which was obviously pre-computerization, pre-internet, it was a little bit easier in many respects. Things were much more local. If you were looking at getting work, one of the places obviously that you would try and develop your networking would be local music shops, because nowadays that aspect of it is sort of important, but not as important as it used to be. Obviously doing things like the local press and stuff like that was, now it's just almost pointless. But some things still hold true. One of the areas that I used to use in order to develop my work was going around and doing demonstrations of guitar playing, and it would be something like just sort of a history of the guitar, and the idea would be you might get some payment for doing this at a school, but there was also the understanding that if there was a demand for guitar lessons, that you'd get in. Now, nowadays, there seems to be a guitarist in every school. I don't know whether that's just an illusion, but certainly when I started off, there wasn't anyone. There might be a couple of classical players knocking around, but that was about it. There were some downsides, that there were more of a hold from the what was Kent Music School from when I started off in Kent. What sort of transpired from that was that they weren't very good at what they did. They were incredibly disorganised, and that sort of played into my hand somewhat. So the situation as it stands now is that obviously you would have to use some sort of social media, I would suggest, to get your name around. And if you can get things where you can localise stuff, get an event going, put it on Facebook, get it on Twitter, get something that generates interest, get people involved, that is probably the most effective way of building up your client base. So give you some examples, and then you can sort of riff on this idea as much as you want. But doing something like a one-day guitar course, which is like get people playing, just call it something simple, I actually did one a few years ago called Guitar in a Day for 5 Notes. You could do it for 10 notes, so basically 10 quid. So it's like really, really just covering your basic costs. And I did it in such a way that I got loads of people in, got a couple of pupils of mine to sort of help out, and then sort of sold it to them as continuing guitar lessons, which is exactly what happened. So you could do stuff like that, and then use that as a vehicle for advertising of what you're doing. To get on the radio, just a little news item, and obviously make sure that the people that are running the radio stations realise that you have no money, because they're always too keen to try and get you to do an advert on the radio, or the same with the press. And you don't want to do that because it's pretty pointless, to be quite frank with you. The other thing is that you could use things like YouTube. You could do a little impromptu lesson or something, and then pump it out to the people that you know for them to circulate it. There's all sorts of things. Just be incredibly creative. From my perspective, because I always have a lot of trouble getting my head around things like social media platforms and how things trend and all that sort of stuff. I still have to think old style, get people in a room. What would I need to do that? and then spin it off into sort of social media aspect. Then instead of having people in a room, you got people on the internet. Webinar type ideas. So for me, I have to do it that way because that's the way I think. But people that are listening to this might be able to go, oh, hang on a minute, I could do a PDF format for the lesson, of all the lesson notes. I could do X, Y, and Z. I could do some sort of conferencing call, and you don't have to go through that process of what it's like to sit in a room with people. I don't know. It's, whatever works for you. Okay, so social media. Obviously, I spoke in a previous thing about referrals. So you need to get your name out there, like some sort of charity event, and then see where that sort of takes you. So the basic format of a charity event is, pick something that has some sort of draw that you feel, you don't necessarily feel passionate about, but you have an interest in. The idea is that the money that you raise has got absolutely nothing to do with you. All you're interested in is the back end of it, is how many people you can get on board. So if you go and do a charity event and there's no way that you're going to get anybody, so you do a charity event that's so far away from where you are that you're never going to get somebody, don't do it. There's obviously this long-going debate amongst musicians about playing for free and giving a free lesson and everything. Now, generally, I don't sort of agree with that. You don't want to give away something for nothing. But if you give something away apparently for nothing, but you've got some serious payback to come through the back door, then that's not playing for nothing. The only thing is just really understanding where the money is coming from. Okay, so where this has got such a bad rap is people trying to get bands in to play for now, with this idea that it's exposure, same old story. But if you really played your cards right, you could make that work for you. But it does require a lot of clever thinking and thought about how you could really use that gig through publicity and all the rest of it that gets your name out there. But for teaching, I do think that works, because it's like the stuff with likes and subscribers to YouTube or whatever. You could have 50,000, 100,000 people as subscribers, but if they don't click on anything and they don't actually watch your videos or don't do anything else, then so what? But you could have 100 people that follow through for something that you do and then go on and buy something else that could make you a vast amount of money. So, if I had 100 people click through and go and book on a blues camp, that would do me very nicely, thank you very much. So, think about the end result. And I'm going to be talking a lot about that later, because, not in this video, but a later one, because there's a lot of work that I follow, the work of Jay Abraham, who's an American entrepreneur, and he's written extensively on this sort of understanding what the net worth of a client is. And again, I'll be talking about that. So just generally getting your name out there. Think outside the box. Use all sorts of things, social media, old style thinking, give out leaflets, doesn't matter, but the point that you've got is, if you link that in with referrals and you get your name out there, there's still loads and loads of work out for you. You just have to find your niche, whatever that is. It might be teaching children, it might be just teaching women, it could be just teaching older men, it could be teaching a certain style, anything where you can really drill down and find the market. Right, I hope that's useful. I'll be back with another video, hopefully with a voice, instead of sounding like a frog in a bag. Okay, so I'll speak to you. Cheers, bye.